How are we doing, everybody? How is your week going? The pre-Christmas week. We're in that lingerers period. What's going on? As I heard Bill Burr once say, is this when you're trying to run the hurry-up offense on a good year, where your year was just as mediocre as every other year, and now you're trying to sneak a good 3 weeks in and say, no, it's a good year. We had a good year because of the last couple of weeks. Hopefully you have had a good year. Hopefully this year of a Dave and a Dan has treated you well. I think it's treated us pretty well. There's been a lot of good sniffs, a lot of good conversations, and a lot of good donkey charts thrown out there for you. We're here in week 16. There are no buys, and we're in the second week of the fantasy playoffs. And I just want to let you know, Dave, this is borderline impossible. In that one league we were talking about last year, the one that I guess your hometown friends disbanded, but I still have, the one that you're grandfathered in, the one league you still care about, I somehow survived a Cooper Kupp and Darnell Mooney double bagel.
Yeah.
On the back of Amon-Ra St. Brown and James Cook, who just had, it essentially is the production of two people. So the team did just fine, but it's just so weird seeing 0-0 from two of your wide receivers,
well, especially
and coming out with a win.
Cooper Kupp, right? It's Puka Nacua is awesome, but man, the fall, the precipitous decline from Cooper Kupp lately.
Does that mean it's just going to be another dud this week against the Jets?
I don't think so. That game actually interests me as a potential shootout. I shouted you out on my picks for every game video over on the Odd Shopper channel. That's a shameless plug. But I shouted you out when I was talking about that Jets game because you had brought up the whole concept of like, there's a difference between tanking, and we discussed this, like tanking and throwing caution to the wind, right? And you had mentioned the Jets potentially throwing caution to the wind. Best statistical output of the season, man. I mean, Rodgers was loose. Rodgers ran for 50 yards. Devontae Adams, monster game. I mean, you're talking prime Devontae Adams performance. He didn't get much from Garrett Wilson, but we did see it. Like 32 points in regulation for that team. They absolutely threw caution to the wind and just went, you know what? Let's go out there and have some fun.
Look, last 2 weeks, if you would have taken the alts on Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, last week and 2 weeks ago, you've cleared all the alts other than Garrett Wilson's last week. You cleared all the alts on both of them. I mean, for the most part, they got to like 100 yards. But you know what I'm saying? Like the 60, 70, 80, 90, they hit for the both of them last week. And then you hit every last one known to man for Devontae Adams. And I just feel like one of these two guys every week till the end of the season, you're playing with no pressure. The fact that you're getting not like a full workload for Breece Hall, as you have pointed out, means there are even that many more targets to go around. And you're just playing with the weight of the world off you. You know, like if these wins don't matter, so who cares? Let's keep winging it around. And yeah, those teams I feel like you can target. I guess while we're talking about it, Alex, why don't you pull up, it's a good place to start. Let's talk about that game. You have the Jets playing against the Rams. What are we feeling here other than, I guess, what we just stated? I mean, do you think it's a good idea, by the way, to go back to those?
I think you can. I bet the Jets at 3.5. It's at 3 now, so that's nice. It was probably pretty dumb to do it. And it's not even like I'm betting the Jets based off of one game, but I think I mentioned it to you last week, right? This team had blown 4 fourth-quarter leads in 5 games. So it's not like they've been the level of bad where they're not even competitive. These are games they should have won, right? Seahawks was one of them. Patriots, the Ramondre touchdown with 28 seconds to go. There were a lot of them. Those are the first 2 off the top of my head, but there were a lot more of these games recently, too, where they had the lead in the fourth quarter and found a way to squander it. The Colts, I think, was another one. And then you've got this Rams spot, 3 points. Rams defense is okay. You know, their pass rush is improved. What are the
I'll tell you right now, everybody's taking the Rams. Everybody's taking the Rams minus 3. So? I mean, Dave, take yourself out of Dave. Take yourself into Dan. You're seeing a team who just beat the Niners albeit, in a somewhat crusty fashion, beat these, unstoppable Bills. Division lead. They're the cream of the crop in that division for the moment. On the road against the Jets, and
Probably
they're
right.
favored by a grand total of 3.
Yep.
Everybody's taking them.
You're probably
Everybody
right.
is taking them.
Probably right. What are the props? Do we have props on this game?
As far as the props, hey, as I've always said to you guys many times, if they take from you, at least it comes with a little, all right, here you go. I know you lost money, but we will give you this, and that is a fair number for the guy who lost the following week. So Garrett Wilson, I think 100 yards 2 weeks ago. Don't even want to say it was a very day. I think he had 55, 57 last week. I'm sure there were some other opportunities to come close. 60.5 yards for Garrett Wilson. Is it going to be his day? Is it going to be Adams' day? It could be both their days. I guess we'll see. But that is not an unfair total in kind of the caution to the wind mode that the Jets are in.
Well, what's Adams at?
Now that becomes a little worrisome. You have a massive game like that, and yep.
See, I think I'd still prefer that. That's still even with him coming off of a big game. Again, this is the thing I'll continuously go back to is don't isolate just one game, but look at the full body of work here. They had been, somewhat struggling. The guy is still a double-digit target hog every single week, right? Every week, this is just double-digit target. Maybe not every week, but I bet if you go back the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks, Adams is averaging over 10 targets. Here, hold on, I got it right here. Let's see.
I'm not going to fight you on this. Like, I don't look at 69 as some, unattainable crazy number when you're talking about Davante Adams.
I mean, I don't usually go off of this, but he's cleared it in 6 of his last 7. So
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of his last 6. 198, 109, 72, 91. Sorry, 4 of his last 6. The other was 66. But listen to the targets. 12, 11, 12, 7, 13, 11. Right? That's going back to week 9. And then when you talk about like, all right, well, how often is this guy on the field? Are they going to keep playing these guys? He played 93% of snaps last week.
Absolutely, yeah.
So unless you hear something contrary to what you and I are saying now, right? Like, maybe these guys will get a rest. I'll say this: as long as Aaron Rodgers keeps starting, I don't see any reason why those guys would see any restrictions on their workload. As long as Rodgers keeps starting.
I don't think these numbers are too high. I think one of them's coming through for you again. The only thing that worries me a little bit, I'm trying to remember Matt Stafford in like outdoor wintry conditions. I know he did it more so when he was in Detroit. I can't even remember playing him a game recently where he was like on the road outdoors in a cold winter game. And then my only worry is is that then it becomes maybe a lower scoring type of game. Like, this is not an indoor track meet like it was in Buffalo. It can be a crusty Northeast weather game. Maybe not looking too dissimilar to that San Francisco 49ers, but then again, the Niners were playing for their playoffs. Jets are playing for a grand total of nothing. There was one thing that I brought up to you 2 weeks ago. I brought up to you, but I think I forgot on the show, but I definitely brought it up last week. And then I sent you a screenshot on Sunday, and it was now it's become a chalk stat because there are only so many weeks left in the year, and there's a clear number he needs to hit. But this was the Mike Evans receiving yards to keep that streak going, to keep the 1,000-yard streak going. He needed to have a huge game along the way, and last week was that huge game. He cleared every alt that I have found available between FanDuel and Caesars. He got up to 9 catches. I think he got up to 130 yards. And it was
159.
Oh, my God. A full rake fest for Mike Evans. And I was thinking, they're probably going to put him at like 82 this week. They didn't. They put him in a totally makeable range. Right around 70 yards for Mike Evans, who I believe needs maybe 80 something a week.
He needs 251 over 3 weeks.
Yo, he's getting to 1,000. That's Men's Warehouse. I will Men's Warehouse guarantee you this close to 1,000, they're getting him to 1,000. So don't miss out on the week because let's say it's not this week. I lost a little bit. I'm going to send Alex the screenshot so he can show you. I'll show you what a get Evans to 1,000 yards game looks like. So what are you thinking here against the Cowboys indoor? Great environment. Correct me if I'm wrong. Mike Evans is he played college in Texas and he's also from Texas.
Went to A&M, right? So yeah, I mean, they're 4-point favorites. Dallas has lost defensive players to injury. They've gotten a couple back as well. So that's probably a moot point. But they've got a bunch of guys questionable right now, which could just make this even better. In the event that, we see how this one plays out. Yeah, you know what? 83. What's the remaining schedule? For what it's worth, I'm with you that he gets there, but I think he gets there because he's good and maybe not as much because they're forcing it. Only because this team actually has something to play for right now.
I know, but that is a bit. I believe he's going to be tied for the only person ever to do it in this many straight seasons. Like you're talking about an all-time NFL record.
That wouldn't be tied then, right?
No, I believe if he gets there, he'll be tied for the most amount.
Oh, tied. He would. Okay, yeah.
Or the most straight seasons.
This would be his 11th straight season. He's never not done it.
Exactly. So I refuse to believe they're not getting him there.
Oh, my God, their schedule. Oh, my God. At Cowboys versus Panthers versus Saints.
All right, so he's getting the 1,200. Okay. I mean,
it feels like it.
I'm doing it, guys. You don't have to do it. I want to show you. Alex, go back to the last pick. This was me last week. Every alt possible. So I started, you can see up top. Standard 9 to 5, clock into work. What was that, by the way, Dave? When you clocked into work and you dipped that card into a machine. That must have felt good when you left. Fucking hearing that. Well, of course we haven't done it. We're not steelworkers in 1943. I'm talking about when they put that thing in like the wooden box and pulled it out. And it almost made... Alex, get in here.
Is that how they did it?
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have never used one.
None of us have ever used one. I'm talking about the reference of like... you get what I'm saying? You stick a card in something... Totally. And then it makes like a slot machine sound. Maybe that part was in my head. But when you pull it out, it's some sort of clock in, clock out, but it knows you're there because your thing is in the toaster.
So this is like a Depression era.
I'm pulling it up.
Okay. I feel like I've seen it in movies before. But
Dave, I've never seen one in person. I haven't worked at a 1950s steel mill.
You haven't? Okay. All right. So now... Look at that.
You see this guy?
Have you
there it is.
Have you ever worked a job like other than acting or doing this?
Yes.
Have you ever had?
Yes, in an office.
You did?
Yep. Alex worked with me. That's where I met him.
By the way, just the best haircuts back then. The best haircut. They were doing like the skin fades before it came back in 2020.
Dude, that's a high fade. I call that over and easy. You see that fucking up in the front when you get a cut? Like I got my cut yesterday. It goes up. I call this sunny side up. It grows when it grows a little bit, it drops and falls to the side, and then I call it over and easy. This guy, he's got it over and easy. Fresh cut, and I couldn't agree with you more. They knew what they were doing then.
Yep. That's a solid cut.
You think your average barber how were they fading?
Dude, I don't know, but even me now, I've had to go to I get a skin fade, and I've had to go to many different barbers to get and this is funny, like these people go to barber school, It's just not easy to do. It's not easy. The best I've ever had cut my hair was a female barber. Matter of fact, actually, It was at a salon. She wasn't even. She went to barber school,
Yeah.
but she did women's hair. Best I've ever had. No joke. You would have never thought that.
I'm going to give you guys, look, I have tons of LA secrets, okay? All right, there's a reason when I was visiting my brother in college, I was decades older than these people. And they're like, what, are you a senior? I know some of the scams. And one of the things that most guys need to know, you can't go to that corner barber shop and just think you're getting a fresh cut. You don't want to go to a salon, but that's mostly where you're getting the good shit. I know you don't want to do it, but then fine. Don't be angry when you're looking like Lloyd Christmas. Anyway, let's go to another game on the side. Why don't you just take us to those Saturday games? What am I to make of this Mahomes? And I really am not just some guy saying this as like a news item. How can all the reports be, oh God, he's very iffy. Is it not illegal to list him as a full participant in practice?
Well, I bet the Chiefs at plus 2.5. And I'll tell you why. Because number one, Andy Reid cannot be trusted. Okay? Andy Reid simply cannot be. By the way, that's no slight towards Andy Reid. I'm a huge fan of Big Red. Him and Mike Tomlin, my two favorite coaches. I love those guys.
Would you say Sean Payton's a good coach?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a scumbag. He lies. There's no correlation between lying and being a good coach.
There might be. I mean, there might be a slight positive correlation between. You know?
The other way.
Yeah. So this is why I grabbed him at 2.5. And I tossed it in the video on Tuesday. You would have got it at 2.5. So I'm not trying to shortchange anybody here. Plus, they could lose, and you go, "Hey, good thing I didn't watch it on Tuesday." This guy has missed 2 career starts. Do you know what he missed those starts for in his career?
Yes, it was after that Thursday night football injury against the Broncos. That's sick that I know that.
Great
I
call.
mean, that's just truly sick.
Do you know what but that's good. I have a weird memory with football like that too. Do you know what it was?
It was on a QB sneak to try to get a yard. That's even more sick. What's wrong with me?
Dislocated kneecap, and he missed 2 games. And then 2 years ago in the postseason, I know because as an Eagles fan, they beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Grade 3 high ankle sprain that he suffered. Guess who played the very next week against the Bengals and beat them, and then re-aggravated this ankle injury in the Super Bowl to go on to win it. This guy plays through everything, okay? Mahomes, now, am I certain he plays this week? No, but the way I look at a spot like this is, all right, if I grab him at 2.5 and Mahomes plays, I know I'm getting huge line movement. I'm getting through 0. I mean, you get it through 3 now, right? If he doesn't play, at least I know that this is a great coach defense with Steve Spagnuolo. It's a fantastic overall coach team that finds ways to get gutsy wins. You can say the refs, whatever. Fine, the refs are still on their side. That's good for me. Even if right, who cares? Even if Carson Wentz is in there.
I like that. Well, it goes back to the whole it's rigged thing. If it's rigged, bet on the rigged side, asshole.
Exactly. So, all right, 2.5, fine. We still got everything working in our favor except Mahomes. But if you grab the Texans at minus 2.5 and Mahomes ends up playing, you're getting buried on that number. You see what I'm saying? So,
yes.
Yeah, I think Mahomes plays, though. He plays.
I will say, if we had one of the most popular shows in the United States and everybody watched it, and people were just hoping that they could make a Skip Bayless moment of us being dead wrong, and they did a compilation cutting back and forth towards the most wrong statement ever said. Man, did the random unnecessary flip back to Kareem Hunt getting half the work really stick it up our ass the way I framed it too? I'm like, you think they're going back? I was literally, you think you at home think they're going back? I go, just leave, just leave the stadium. And they just decided to randomly go back. So that
was crazy.
Is a curveball.
He had more carries last game than he did the last 2 games combined. Yeah, that was something, man. That you know what? You take your lumps. I have something I have to bring up to you though.
Okay. Is it about this game?
No, but just kind of go with me for a second here.
I'm going.
All right. So I'm not a conspiracy. Well, I am, but not from a football standpoint, right?
You want to hear something? You want to hear something?
What the drones are all airplanes? I know.
I'm going to
Go,
tell you
what are you
something,
gonna say?
Dave. I want to tell you something crazy. Please don't judge me too much as a person. Go ahead, do it all you want. Alex knows this is true. He knew me at this time. Let's just say there was a girl I wanted to hang out with. I found out the girl, she just recently graduated from college, and she had this job just kind of like, you know how your random floater just gets a job like trying to rent apartments or selling one of those scam real estate jobs. And
Yeah.
she was like doing like semi real estate agent stuff. I went to a fake apartment that I knew I didn't want this apartment, but I scheduled a viewing knowing she would show it. She showed me the apartment that I had 100%. There's a 0% chance I was moving into this shithole in Brooklyn, but I knew she was showing it, and I trusted my ability to be a scammer and charm her a little bit. And I got news for you. I invited her to a party that when you're in like talent agencies and whatnot, they have right around Christmas, an end of the year holiday party. And I asked her if she wanted to go. She said yes. And then that party, it makes you seem it makes everyone feel like they're Brad Pitt in there because it's all under the same agency. So I just kind of got her in there. She was feeling it. And all of a sudden I'm hanging out with this chick, and we're hanging out for a bit. So that's the girl I ended up hanging out with. What if somebody saw us walk into a bar and leaned over and goes, you know what? I bet you this guy set up a whole fucking fake apartment search to go talk to that girl. That's the only reason he's with it. Someone would say, dude, you're on borderline. You need mental help. It's the truth. It's the truth. I conspired to snake this girl in a scam fashion. And then she goes home and tells people like, oh my God, it was like a movie meant to be. I showed him this apartment and he invited me. It was all a scam. And you have to be a conspiracy theorist because I just proved it's true. I did that. And I wouldn't have admitted it for years. The statute of limitations has expired. Alex worked with me when this was going on. He's seeing me do these crimes as he commits none, by the way.
Yeah, Alex doesn't seem like a big crime guy. You're wrong about something, though. You're wrong.
Do you imagine we learned he's the sickest of them all?
Oh, dude, straight Dexter back behind the glass. You're wrong about one thing. Don't call it a scam. That was calculated brilliance. And I bet you.
Yo, name of this podcast, this episode, Calculated Brilliance, the LP. David, you ever have a CD? Calculated Brilliance.
Hold on a second, though. What is more of a romantic fairy tale than meeting the guy at a showing by happenstance, or the fact that he went out of his way to set up a bogus showing just so, you see what I'm saying? Like, that is actually more impressive. And I think if you told her down the road, I would for sure, like, I wouldn't be able to keep my mouth shut back. You want to hear something funny? And I would for sure tell her like 2 weeks later. Now, maybe I'm miscalculating this one, but my thinking would be that she'd be like, did you really do that? And I'd say, yeah, I did. I had no interest. And then she'd be like, well, you wasted my time and all of that. But I think what you did is less of a scam and more something that people should aspire to do and have some balls to do it.
I have a friend like you who he's very supportive in any sort of endeavors, and he finds a positive spin. And I was like, you know, Sean, What do you think I should do for this girl who wants to be with a filthy rich guy? Should I rent an Airbnb for a night that's way above my pay grade just to make it seem like I live in a place like this? I go, then I'm just a full scumbag. He
No,
goes,
that's a scammer. That's
no,
different.
but
That's a
regardless, he goes, you're not a scumbag. You're resourceful.
See? Hey, I like this guy. Exactly. All right. I need, nobody's better at shooting angles and finding angles than you are with this type of stuff. I need you to help me find an angle with this NFL Week 16 conspiracy.
Okay.
You ready? All right. All of the remaining 4 teams who haven't clinched the AFC playoffs yet, but are currently, primed to clinch, they could all do it this week. There is no way. Hear me out. I'm not a conspiracy guy with football. Do I think there's some odd things that happen once in a while, some bad calls? Yeah, but then you know what usually happens? There's a crazy makeup call after that was just kind of trying to level the playing field. I watch enough football to see all that. Am I saying things don't happen? Fine. No. What I am saying is if you are of this line of thinking, you should be trying to find an angle here because there is simply no chance that the NFL wants to have 2 full weeks in the AFC with 0 playoff implications at all. If you were to ever convince me of one, I told you with the drone thing, if you were to ever convince me of the one conspiracy, it's just that it's a grand psyop and there's not actually any drones, even though I don't believe it. If you were to convince me of anything, it might just be that they don't want to have 2 full weeks of the regular season where nothing matters in the AFC.
I tend to agree with you. What I think when it comes to all that stuff, I really think that standard human psychology is why a lot of these calls go the way they do. Why the same pass interference won't be called on a team that's up 2 touchdowns opposed to a team that's down 2 touchdowns who will get every little call. I truly feel like every human being favors in their head subconsciously whoever's trailing or who's ever behind. And I think more or less that kind of plays into what you're saying. I think I'm not just going to say like the ominous them, whether you're talking about referees or whoever, I think they're likely on any sort of 50-50s to veer toward the side that is behind and whatever would help someone like them. Now, how would that play out in terms of these games? What has to happen to make the games matter?
Browns, Titans, and 49ers. So,
but the Browns, wouldn't that eliminate Cincy?
Yeah, there's just no way. I think this is the other thing. That's why I don't think this is going to happen. Like the Niners have to beat the Dolphins. That might happen. Fine. Garendo's going to miss. They don't have any running backs. You need the Titans to beat the Colts. That's actually plausible. Richardson stinks. I just find it interesting that they could be put in a predicament like that where it's actually possible that they could go 2 weeks without anybody with any implications other than some seeding and stuff, right? But that doesn't matter as much.
Nowadays, though, man, with gambling, how many people are truly watching?
That's a good point. But this is also a league that's trying to expand it to 18 games, and that would just throw a lot of cold water on it.
I want to go back to that Saturday game for a second.
Sure.
Back when I was an odd shopper, one of the, there are always these bets you get remembered by. Somebody will hit you up like, Dave, man, I've been watching ever since blank, the so-and-so call. I remember you had this week, this year, with crazy round robin touchdowns, right? Yeah, I'm sure people will remember you. Whoever you helped, they'll remember you forever. As soon as Patrick Mahomes got hurt, something that I'd been screaming about towards the end of the year. Do you remember when Pacheco was thought of as like, oh yeah, he's the plotter and then it's all McKinnon for receiving?
Yeah.
It was not the case. And I was yelling at people, take this 7.5 receiving for Isaiah Pacheco. Then when Mahomes rolled his ankle, the huge high ankle sprain, the one that you said was the grade 3 6-week injury, I screamed at them, don't you dare not take Pacheco's receiving when now Mahomes can't even buy extra time, and they're going to design a couple get it out of his hands quickly with that offensive line that's not pass protecting well. I saw today his receiving yards are like 7.5, 8.5. You get your ass on those Pacheco receiving the same way I yelled it to you in that game against the Bengals.
Yeah, great call.
Oh, I was about to say 4.5. No, that's the fake line.
Yeah, they always
so
do.
8.5.
All that crap.
Yeah, so 8.5. 7.5
definitely.
Rivers, 8.5, 7.1.
Nah, yeah. You're probably better off just grabbing that 8.5 at minus 114. Really.
Go ahead, bump it up. I'll take it tomorrow. 9.5. That's how not worried I am about it. Give me the worst closing line value.
I think it's a good call. I expect him to play. At this point, you kind of have to, right? Well, and also the line movement suggests that he's expected to play because they went from
you can't list somebody as full participation in practice. No, you just can't.
Exactly.
Random quick question: that scumbag Hollywood Brown. What do you think? Full practice.
I don't know, man. I mean, he's
not a scumbag. I actually know zero about him. He could be the nicest man on the
You're
planet.
Not big on the name change?
No, this same team that I'm talking to you about, the one that I care about, I got him at a discount. He was at most supposed to miss week 1. They said he's ready for week 2, and then he went on IR for the season. And I'm a little pissed off about it.
Well, he is expected to be activated and play, so. How much? I don't know. I mean, he's been out forever. Plus, this is a type of deep threat, too. Like, if you're talking about Mahomes not having a lot of time in the pocket and losing on that mobility,
good point. That is a great point.
Could be looking at guys like Kelsey and Pacheco.
Let's go. The second Saturday game is Steelers-Ravens.
I badly wanted to bet the Steelers at 6.5, but with Pickens not expected to play and then Watt was questionable, this offense is anemic without Pickens right now.
The wheels were going to fall off the Steelers sooner or later regardless. Go ahead. He can come back next week full strength. They're probably losing again. It's over for them. It's been a gimmick. It's been a great gimmick. It's continued to go. We got a quick flash of Russell Wilson of yesteryear.
Yep.
I smell gimmick. I'm sorry, but I do.
I think you're right. I also think Mike Tomlin is a good enough coach that he can mask a lot of that for at least for some time,
We've seen this in the past. Like, what was that year a couple years back? Weren't they like 11-0, but it didn't feel like 11-0?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that wasn't, was that the last Roethlisberger year?
It was either the last or the second to last. Because the last year, I think they got into the playoffs at the very end, which means they had a bad record.
Right. But also, they went 11-0 and then ended up just.
How bad can you be?
They finished 12-4.
But that doesn't get you the last spot. I believe when Mahomes destroyed them, they were the last seed on the last day. It couldn't be that year.
No, not at 12 and not at 11-0. There's just no way.
Yeah, so that must be a different one. But it feels eerily similar. Like 2 weeks ago, this team had one of the best I mean, they're like, what, a game behind the Chiefs? It did not feel that way. It just felt like any given week. And now we're kind of starting to see it. And the Ravens owe them one from the last game. Typically, I said, look, we talked about this last time. Oh, Steelers at home, +3. No. You've never seen me take a big favorite. If I took one here, it would be Baltimore.
I hear you. Yeah,
right,
I said earlier in the week, I'll lean Baltimore for those reasons, but I'd rather just not even touch this game.
All right, next we got what we got, Alex? Eagles command.
Yeah.
I always leave your boys to you, but you know what? I'll let you say what you got to say. Something I love in this game.
So, I had mentioned earlier.
Hold on, maybe you can guess. Remember you guessed one of what I was gonna pick once. I feel like you're gonna guess this one too.
What was that? That was
It was.
Yeah,
it was probably our scumbag that we both had a little on. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Who plays tonight with no Jaleel McLaughlin? Yeah. I grabbed the Eagles at 3. I had a feeling this would move to 3.5, and I don't want to grab them at 3.5. It's an odd game. It's a very, very odd game. You know, just a divisional dog outside of three and outside of a field goal. The Eagles come in, they crush Pittsburgh. This was the most obvious spot. Beat Baltimore, struggle against Carolina, take care of business against Pittsburgh, and now I don't really know. I really don't know. Let me try and think what your spot is. Oh, it's got to be a Barkley spot.
I mean, this is why you're great at the game of Clue.
Am I right? You want to go back?
Yes,
go to Barkley.
It is 100% a Barkley spot.
Yeah, because I think one of the reasons too is because I feel the same way this week. Like this feels like the type of week. Last week, Jalen Hurts' line after the game when questioned about the passing game goes, "Just because we don't mean we can't." I thought it was a great line, and they proved that against a good defense they could do it. AJ had 100 plus, Devontae had 100 plus. They were firing on all cylinders. They're not just going to keep. That was like a glimpse of here. We can do it if we have to. I expect them to do everything they can to just fucking fire with Saquon Barkley this week.
So here's why I'm going to argue the opposite. One of my favorite bets is the under on Saquon Barkley's absurdly high rushing total.
I haven't seen his rushing total yet, so I couldn't. Okay.
Oh, just a quick 98.5. They rode this guy like a true horse riding all year. Who are one of the favorites to make the Super Bowl? You think this team is going to do well with kind of a fucking, we're going to put extra work on the end of the year? When you saw this guy come off the field because of an injury, and once he returned, was it back to workhorse Saquon? No. It was a much higher snap percentage for Kenny Gainwell, who has played very well with them over the past couple of years in the spots that he's been asked to and in the spots that he's been given. My sniff is that the Saquon percentage, the percentage that he's out there, it's not as low as last week, but it's in between last week's and his standard to try to preserve what probably is one of their most dynamic weapons. No, he is their most dynamic weapons when you look at so many games earlier this year that were kind of deadlocked, and then like the Saints game, and he just randomly breaks an 80-yard touchdown run. And if you have a slightly diminished Saquon, a guy who's injured every year of his career, every year this guy's coming out of the lineup, and he happened to be really healthy, I think that Steph has to realize, like, we are not a better team running this guy out there excessively when clearly he's probably going to be nursing something somewhat from last week. So I'm all about Saquon's under on rushing this week. That's the case I've laid out. That's fine.
I totally get where you're coming from because it would be the sensible approach. I don't necessarily lean on Nick Sirianni to make the sensible decisions in a lot of these cases. Saquon Barkley still had 19 carries and 21 touches last game and only played 61% of snaps. So in a spot now where this team isn't only trying to make a run for the Super Bowl, but they see the Detroit Lions as a wounded animal, constantly suffering more injuries. Carlton Davis, broken jaw. McNeil just tore his ACL. Montgomery's out for the season. Obviously, Hutchinson. The list goes on and on and on. They have a real shot to shoot the gap and take the number 1 seed and get a first-round bye. And this game's very important. Barkley still saw 21 touches in a game where he wasn't 100%. So now that he has a full week to recover from that, he's not listed on the injury report. I see it the opposite way. I think
that's a great counterpoint. That's a great counterpoint because 20 that is a lot of carries to so you could be right. You could be right.
Maybe there's another angle here, right? Like there's always do we have a rushing attempts prop on him?
It should be there. It should be if you go to the very next one to the right there. If you click that word rushing. Oh no, never mind. There we go. So I mean, what do they put? 20 carries.
Okay.
20 carries.
Well, Honestly, this actually plays more towards what you're saying. they You can only put a number like this so high, but Barkley's gone. God, he's gone 20 plus in like 7 of his last 9 or something. Nah,
But you can't
19 and a
blame
half
them.
probably where it should be.
You can't blame them when he was running. I don't know. Just my thought is if there's just a series or two where he doesn't have like true pop, they're gonna.
It's
I don't
possible.
know.
But another thing though is the way that they might be trying to get him 2,000 yards as well. Again, I know it sounds
That's
crazy,
another thing. All
but
right,
like he needs to average 100 yards per game over the last 3.
Dave. This is good. This is the purpose of this show. I was a level 8 excited. Now, not 9, not 10, but now where am I? I'm lingering at a 5. So we can go on from that one. It was just a thought that I had. I thought, I reinvented the wheel.
Go
The
with your
wheel was
gut,
not
man.
reinvented.
Go with your
No,
gut.
no. What do you mean? My gut. I got plenty of other guts around here that
All
we
right,
can.
all right, let's
We
go.
don't have to put it there. I mean, if you always follow your gut, you got a lot of money out on that board. All right, what do we got next there? Carolina
Give me the
hosting
Panthers.
the Cardinals. So we got a Panthers over there, and it would make sense. A week after everybody was on them, as we
Yep,
suggested, they
yep.
lose. This is basically how it works. Bend
You're,
over and then bend over again, because now you want to bet against them again, right? You want to take Kyler Murray,
yep.
and what's Dave gonna tell us? He's gonna say, "But did you see what Kyler Murray said? I'm gonna get that guy in the end zone." Yeah, and I'm going to get that Sydney Sweeney girl on my next apartment search. You can say everything that you want to say. This guy still ain't in the end zone, but there's another guy. That's Dave's guy. We'll let him talk about him in a minute. The A.Theilen last week that we talked about, it served a great purpose because just coincidentally, after the fact, Dave talked about how important it is to get closing value on something. I mean, he already talked about that whole Chiefs spread, but that's kind of its own situation. Dave, there's literally a moment from last week where you go 50 and a half on DraftKings, and you looked it up. You're like 50 and a half on DraftKings. If you took that 50 and a half as soon as you got that excited, guess what? You won. You want to know who else didn't? Everybody, because he ended up with 51 yards. And I guess nothing will illustrate the importance to getting a good number on something than getting it at that time.
Yeah, well, I think you and I have actually done, whether the bets win or lose is almost irrelevant to some extent. Not if you keep, you know what I mean. Like, and as
Yeah.
far as I'll give you one better than that we hit on that I think was even crazier. We looked at Alvin Kamara. You asked me, like, what do you think is a reasonable number for Alvin Kamara rushing? Forget about him getting hurt, by the way. There's no way he was getting there. No chance. And I think both of us were like, yeah, I don't know. High 50s, low 60s. We looked it up. It was 74 and a half. I texted you. Let's see. I texted you
Yeah.
a couple days later, right? Because we record this on Wednesday. I think it was or on Thursday. So I think it was a Saturday. And I shot it over to you. So, yeah, we got it under 77 and a half. You did. I got it at under 74 and a half on the show. And then it closed at 60 and a half.
How did that happen, by the way?
I think
How did
people
that happen?
probably started to figure out what I've been saying is that Kendra Miller's actually involved in this offense, but also just that Alvin Kamara is not. If people wanted to act like it had anything to do with like Spencer Rattler or Jake Hayner, I don't see that. I don't see that there being any way that was. Maybe there's something on. What would I have missed though? What would we have missed there that would have made the difference on a 15, 17 yard swing down?
It just seems like that is crazy.
It is, and you don't usually see that. But either way,
Behind the scenes info, I don't know. I mean, I'm not 100% certain.
I think it's a better understanding, like where they were and what. Unless I'm like I said, yeah. Unless we're both just missing something, but I would have really thought it was the Kendra Miller thing. Who knows?
Alex, can you check Thielen's yards this week? Because I think Leggett left the last game.
He's done for the year.
So if we got
No,
50
that's
and
not
a half.
true. He's doubtful. Sorry.
Looks like this line didn't move all too much.
I would go right back to that. And this is a week I might even ladder Thielen. Because they were
receptions or yards, because he catches a lot of weird short ball. He got to 9 catches 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Probably yards, but
Okay.
I'd be okay with it. I'd be okay with either. I really think I would. I really think that I'd be open to either.
All right.
I wanted to mention McBride to you for a second. So,
Oh yeah, I was just busting your chops, by the way.
No, you're right. But I want to give you something crazy. This will blow your mind. So, pull up the touchdown prop, but don't throw it on the screen yet, Alex. For Trey McBride, don't put it on the screen yet, but have it at the ready.
So I guess open it in a separate tab, and remember, it's total touchdowns. It's worded weird, right? On Odd Shopper,
If it's not doable and you have to put it on the screen, that's fine. I thought it's total touchdowns. Yeah.
Yeah. So go to total touchdowns all the way to the left, and then for McBride.
I had a round robin touchdown parlay last week, right? Threw it out to the people. We hit all 3 of them in the first quarter of their respective games, right? It was A.J. Brown. It was, Josh Allen. And there was a third one. But all 3 of them hit. It was a late window round robin touchdown parlay. And the fourth one was a plus 185 Trey McBride. Trey McBride got tackled at the 1 yard line, Andy. Okay.
Oh, did he? I didn't know.
Yeah, the 1 yard line sucked. So now I can't even tell you guys to go back there. You can't even bet McBride touchdown this week because look at the odds, Andy.
Minus 120.
Plus 125. Last week you were getting plus 180, plus 185, plus 200. The guy doesn't score. This same thing happened with Deontay Johnson the other year, where he hadn't scored since Ben Roethlisberger was his quarterback in 2021. True story. His last time, and this was last year, like midway through the season, he hadn't scored. And the odds were still like plus 220 because people are just going to jam a bet like this. People will still bet it at plus 125. And now I can't do it anymore because there's not actual value on that. It's incredible, isn't it? Plus 125.
No, I don't feel bad. Then you'll just be like me this weekend, not betting many touchdowns.
I'll
at
bet
all.
them, just not McBride.
Let me see the rest of them, Alex. I want to see if there are any more that Giants Falcons. I got nothing in because wild awful team and
it's gross. Malik Neighbors. I think last time I looked at his receiving prop, that might be a spot where the guy's still getting peppered. He's getting peppered with targets.
Lions, Bears, Goff outdoors when he never really plays outdoors. That's the only thing that really kind of catches my attention there. Their defense has become brutal, but can Chicago really exploit that? If they do, then maybe you see St. Brown get 1 million catches again. Titans, Colts.
Can I give you? I know we're up against. Can I give you a quick play from that Bears game?
Please stop me for the plays that you like.
Yeah, sure. So I just think D.Swift over 51.5 rushing yards is too low this week.
That's a fantastic play. I'll be taking that.
Yeah, people look at the Detroit Lions as this stalwart defensively, which they were for a long time. They're so beat up that I don't, in a blowout loss, D.Swift still had 19 carries last week. So at 51.5, I don't know. Maybe I'm chasing the wrong thing here, but
no, you're not. I'm taking that. I'm telling you right now, I'm taking that and laughing. Yep.
Right. They have so many injuries, and then
laughing. Yeah, that is. I love it. Now, it would help if Roschon Johnson gets ruled out once again, so we know full workhorse. Because if you remember, after the coach, was replaced, they did this weird closer split, and Swift didn't. So just pay attention to see if Roschon Johnson is active. If you can go back to the games.
Still bet it now though, and then if he's active, I might just bet a lower number as well. Because if he's inactive, I think it comes up on Swift.
Gotcha.
Well, actually, maybe not because Roschon was a full participant in practice.
Yeah, but doesn't he have to get cleared from like concussion protocol, which is separate?
Yep, you're right. Yeah.
Same thing with Tillman. Like, he practiced last week, he's practicing this week, but doesn't mean he can play.
Yeah. Good call on Roshan. We'll keep an eye out for that. But either way, I think they'll be able to move the ball better than people think. Eventually, these injuries will catch up with you no matter how well coached you are. And that's the Lions right now.
All right, give me a scroll. Nope, I had 0 there. You benching Levis. There might be no Pollard, but I bet you he tries to play through it to get his good numbers going. Colts, nightmare. We talked about Jets. Nope. Bengals, Browns. Jerome Ford's going to be getting the majority. I saw last night that on BetMGM, you can check this quick on that Odd Shopper page. One site had, or maybe that was this morning, had his rushing yards in like the 40s when he only really has to contend with Pierre Strong against a really bad defense that Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard did just fine against. Did they adjust it? Scroll down a little bit. Is it just gone? Is BetMGM gone? Wow. Yeah, so this was at 46.5 this morning. I don't know, maybe they just removed it. All right, back to the games. Vikings, Seahawks.
Tough game.
We don't know Geno's status. We don't know Chalker's status. Kenneth Walker. I used to call him that in the DFS because everyone always loved taking him every single week. Keep going. We got Jaguars, Raiders. That's garbage. Niners, Dolphins. We talked about. Did we?
Not really.
No, we didn't.
We talked about Garendo and just the fact that team, like, I don't think there's any chance Trent Williams comes back this week either.
Oh, the one thing that I found interesting is there was a relatively low total once again for Juwan Jennings. Don't feel as good about it because Miami does have a good secondary. Just something that I want to point out because it was relatively low in comparison to,
Sure.
All right, after that, we got Patriots, Bill. Oh, I promised you I wouldn't bring him up.
You got to do it.
What's Buffalo favored by?
14. You have to do it. You got to go back to your boy Douglas.
It's 33.5, people.
You got
33.5, potentially down 2, 3, 5 touchdowns.
Divisional
it's
spot.
33 for Demario. I'm saying, yeah, I told you I was off the train. But, every morning you're in a metro city, those trains come back, and I'm about to hop on and go in the opposite direction, hopefully back the original direction because that was a good direction. So, Demario,
Yep,
33.5, I'm going there.
Also, Andy, Buffalo coming off a massive statement win against the Lions. It's just perfect.
They're going to win by 3. They're going to win by 3 at the very end.
Dude, I feel the same way about that game. Yep.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
I mean, we saw them start that Rams game just flat as you could be.
Mm-hmm.
And then we already mentioned the Mike Evans stuff. And then Monday Night Football is Saints-Packers. We don't know the situation with potentially Carr, Kamara. So the last thing I wanted to show you, because I thought since there were no donkey charts available, they put out there. Now, I don't bet spreads a lot, but since you do those videos, this might be something you already know. If you have the graphic that I sent you, Alex, about some of the best and worst teams, best teams against the spread this season, any of these surprise you? Or does it just feel right based on, because you give spreads every single week? I'm sure you're.
Cardinals are just a team I can't get right. I can never get the Cardinals right.
That's the Calgary Flames for me in the NHL, those scumbags.
Right, no matter what you do, no matter your read. So I just stopped betting the Cardinals at this stage. Chargers doesn't surprise me. They've had an easy schedule. Steelers, that's not crazy. There's some real crazy trends with them that just make sense. Broncos 11-3 though, and I've done well with the Broncos this year. The team I've done worse with, clearly the Arizona Cardinals, and that shows why.
All right, Alex, flip to the other side. I think I sent you the other side. Yeah. Any of these? Well, I thought the Jets had a worse record than that against the spread.
You would think so, right? Yeah. You certainly would think so. Chiefs, that doesn't surprise me. Chiefs, that's the least surprising thing. Titans.
And I thought the Cowboys would have been a little bit better. I just feel like they've ratted some of these games.
Like they should have against Cincinnati, but that blocked punt that went past the line of
Oh,
scrimmage.
yeah.
Then like a bunch of blowout losses at home this season.
Wow, the Giants are not only bad, but they don't even make it close. That's
terrible.
Brutal. Interesting.
Falcons a little surprising there, but I guess not recently. Kirk Cousins is toast.
Yeah, at least they didn't give him a lot of guaranteed money. Something that we could definitely use more of around here, and something that hopefully you guys will have after this episode and this weekend, getting some good prices. Hopefully we all have those Kirk Cousins guaranteed. But one thing that's always guaranteed is we will be back with you next week for Week 17. Dave and Dan, hopefully I'm in the hometown fantasy finals and Cooper Cup doesn't put up another bagel for me. Always look forward to it. Thank you guys so much for returning once again. Do me a favor, give us those clicks. They help. They will suggest the show to other people. Unless you want to be a greedy prick consumer where you think you're getting good information. If you share them, then someone else will see them and your price is going to go, is that you? Well, then you're going to bring about bad sports betting karma. Do you really want that? No. So like, comment, subscribe, call your dad, tell him about it. He won't watch it, but if he clicks, that will probably be enough. Click the notifications and always check out Dave's stuff over on Odd Shopper as well. I've been using their tool recently for some NHL stuff, and that's not me. They don't give me any money. I'm just telling you. I've been using it. It's been doing well. And I always have a link for what I call Area 51 Odd Shopper Premium. It's always down below somewhere, so you can find that down there. And obviously Dave over on Odd Shopper. So unless there's anything you want to say, Dave, we'll be back with these fine folks next week with another scam on how you can meet, I don't know, a girl on a decoy apartment search. I'll have to think of a new one for you young folk.
We'll figure something out. Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll see you back here after the holiday.